You are listening to Bang Radio.
Hey, welcome to today's episode. And man, thank you so much for joining us on this journey. We're in Hawaii today. If you're listening to this on iTunes, check out the YouTube channel or Stitcher or whatever. But man, this is actually a video that we shot in San Antonio just about a week and a half ago. What we're talking about here is we're talking about extremes. You know, if we do not see sex is normal in our lives, then when we live it, it's going to be abnormal. And we get ourselves into all sorts of craziness. You know, our sexual expression is nothing to be ashamed of. It's one of the most beautiful things that we can do to express who we are and share with somebody else, and whatever behavior that we choose, as long as we're being an expression of ourselves, right? We make our own rules with this. You know, we make our connections, the people involved. In any case, watch the video, and if you like what you're seeing here, check out the article attached to this. The articles are very different than the videos, but they revolve around the same topic. You can find that at sexuallife.com/115. And that's where you'll see the link to the article, and you can rewatch the video there and all the fun stuff. Probably download some for free, but I haven't written that yet. And man, the sun is going down quick. So let me wrap up here. Man, definitely check out what we got going on here at TSL, because what we're about is the social dynamic to be the better man. And in order to do that, we have to be the best man. If we want, you know, 10s with women, and I kind of hate that term, but we have to be a 10 ourselves. If we want 10 in being a successful man, we have to be a 10 within. Let's get into this video on sex and extremes, and let's get sexually healthy. All right, talk to you soon. Hands down, one of the greatest adventures of your life will be finding out who you are. Finding out the man, the woman you are, the expression of self, the absolute representation of you, and how you share that with the world, how you live that. That is what the sexual life is so adamantly about. And I feel, and I hate thinking in absolutes, because nothing in the world is absolute. You know, here I am in San Antonio out hiking with my dogs. We're on kind of a long adventure today. It's a little bit cold, but there is nothing that is an absolute in here. You know, nature does not need balance to be itself. Humanity, human beings need the understanding of balance to understand nature. But when it comes down to it, the only way that we can truly be happy, truly be free in our birthright of being sexually fulfilled, socially fulfilled, happy and healthy, is to understand that we were born, understand what is of our nature. We were born to be social, we were born to be sexual, and we were born to be an expression of us. We were meant to be an authentic version of who we are. We were meant to have the purpose within us, and the things within us are, man, the foundation of what will make us happy. And I was thinking about this on our hike, because we see sex in extremes these days. We see it as, in order to be happy, I need to have the hookers and blow. I need to have the gangbangs. I need to have the orgies. I need to have this. I need to have the knight in shining armor. But I need to have all this stuff of what society and culture has told me what is going to make me sexually happy, rather than discovering and looking at the urge that I have within me. And I guess the main point of all of this and all the thoughts that are running through my head with this is that we start with this urge within our body. You know, if we are born to be the authentic expression of ourselves, and we haven't explored ourselves, we haven't looked at ourselves, we haven't tried to discover where this feeling of sex comes from within us, where this desire to, want to grab the woman in front of us, the desire to make love with her body in all the ways that we feel and express. If we haven't looked at that, if we have not tried to discover that so that we can communicate it, so that we can connect with it, then we're lost. We don't know ourselves. If we don't know ourselves, we can't express ourselves, we can't love ourselves. And when you have relationships based off of that, you get lost. And that's what I see men and women having relationships with these days. And it's really terrible. You know, when I have this urge and I can't explain it, I look at the world around me to define it. And unfortunately right now, our culture, our world around us, defines sex as this exaggeration. It defines it as a commodity. It defines it as what we see in TV, what we see in movies, what we see in the music that we listen to, and all are great, beautiful expressions that I wouldn't live without them. But if we do not discover what it is within us first, then we will be lost. And so what I want to talk about here is, how do we look at that? How do we go from a man like myself in 2005 wanting the adventures of a woman in every port, the sexual adventures that I'd see in porn, the gangbangs, the orgies, the fucking somebody like an animal. How do I go from that to seeing what sex actually is? All right. This calmness, this beauty, sometimes this thing that can be of a very high point, this very superlative moment, but is always this beautiful, ebb and flow, this rhythm of expression that I've found within myself and the people around me. And so we've talked a little bit about what sex isn't. But one thing that I've learned on my journey of sex is to look at what sex truly is. And when I can find that, and when I can find balance with that in my emotions, my mentality, my physicality, and how I have relationships and connected with people, man, my life starts to get better. It starts to get happier. And that is really, man, a huge factor, maybe the factor in what makes living the sexual life so beneficial. So let's think about this. Way back when, 2005, even further in my life and before that, whatever, I saw sex as this crazy moment, this voracious moment that a man had with a woman. And I imagined myself, fucking these women, using my dick, expressing with my body in this overt, exaggerated way that, somehow claimed dominance, and somehow had an enriching experience that would make me more of a man. But as I realized, and as I had more sex, and it was a very long road because there was nobody really showing me this, what I realized was that sex was this slow, constant pace. That at the highest moments of when I was fucking, when I was making love, it was at most a tenth of where it was that voracious moment, that extreme moment. And the majority of it was the slow-paced process of in and out, of stillness, of calmness, of breathing with one another and experiencing with one another. And we never look at it as that, When we see sex as being this, I've got to fuck, I've got to gangbang, I've got to plow her, I've got to dominate her. Or it doesn't all have to be about women, but it could be from a woman's perspective as well. But when it becomes that I have to do this thing, that I have to do this action outside of myself, of course, there's a huge demand for what we need to be, and that's a lot of pressure. I believe that's the root of social anxiety, the root of, a lot of the chaos, a lot of the fear, a lot of the doubt that we have. But when we see that sex is about a unification, it is about a stillness, it is about a calmness, it is about a slow pace of how I can unite with somebody, how two things can come together and change to become not two things that came together, but a whole new thing, a whole new emotion, a whole new thought, a whole new feeling, a whole new physicality, a new life is created. When we can realize that it has that natural ebb and flow to it, that natural progression to it, and that is the actual expression of sex. Then when it comes down to interacting with people, when it comes down to getting social, when it comes down to saying hello, when it comes down to seeing a woman, when it comes down to that sexual urge where I see the light shining through a woman's dress and I can see between her thighs and I want to know what it smells like, I want to attack it, I want to taste it, I want to feel it. I can know that the true language of where that's coming from, in order for me to have my pleasure with that, comes from a stillness, comes from a calm, comes from a natural unity that I have within me that I was born to be to feel with her. And if you haven't had those experiences, I can understand that might be a little bit hard to imagine. It might be like, man, that doesn't tell me how to approach, that doesn't tell me how to fuck, that doesn't tell me how to connect with somebody. But what is so important from that is that I can guarantee you what is within that urge to want to fuck, to want to dominate. Those are beautiful things. Those are things that are not misogynistic. Of course, if we distort them, of course, if we repress them, of course, if we disconnect from them and only try and connect with them through disconnection, through exaggeration, through extreme actions, then of course, they could be flawed, they could become evil, they could harm people, they could be violent, they could be misogynistic, they could be hating, all that sort of stuff. But those thoughts within you have a beauty within them. They have an orchestra within them, and they're an instrument that you have to play. And that if you start out with simply calming down and saying hello, you start out being a man that could stand in front of a woman and have your presence. It doesn't even have to be big like this. It could just be, hey, I'm Steve. I wanted to meet you. If you can be a man that can say that, and yes, you'll get rejected. Yes, you'll fail. Yes, it won't work many times. But if you can learn to speak that language that is spoken with that calmness, with that graceful voice of just, hey, I wanted to meet you. I didn't mean to make you afraid. I didn't mean to make you, think I was somehow insulting you by coming to talk to you. If you can make it about that, and not about this story that comes from desperation, that comes from hopelessness, that comes from an unsatisfied feeling of sex, and you can start to get results with that, then you'll move into a healthy expression of what sex really is. You'll be closer to the language of what it is. And then I can guarantee you that urge within you that wants to fuck, that wants to dominate, that wants to own a pussy, that wants to have your dick be worshipped, and that knows what it's like to worship a pussy and to completely experience a woman's body. You will know, you will have what it takes, you will have the man, the foundation within it, the language of sex within you that can speak in the right ways of exactly when that moment needs to take place. Believe me, I love to fuck. I love to bang. I love all of that. That is so much of what is me and my sexual expression. But in order to truly feel that, to truly perform, express, exchange, connect, interact, unify, have two things come together and become a new thing, I had to learn to be the man that held that foundation of all of it. You're born to be sexual. You're born to be social. You're born to be you.